Notice Mark chapter number 3. And I want to call our attention to verse 25. Mark chapter number 3. And I want to look at verse 25. There were some scribes who, when they knew that Jesus had cast out demons out of folk without a struggle, just simply commanding them to leave, and they simply left. And when some scribes and Pharisees saw how he seemingly did it without any great effort, they made the mistake of thinking that, well, the reason he was able to cast out the demons so effectively was because they deemed him to have a spirit upon him or in him by the name of Beelzebub, who was considered the ruler of the demons. And so they said, yeah, he's able to do it, but Beelzebub, the ruler of the demons, dwell in him. But Jesus, in setting them straight, gave us a sure enough word. I said, in setting them straight, he gave us a sure enough word. Notice for clarity in verse 23, so he called them to himself and said to them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, notice what Jesus says, that house cannot stand. Notice verse 24. He said, if a kingdom is divided against itself, no matter how great and powerful that kingdom is, he says that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, notice, church, that house cannot stand. I want to talk from a personal subject on this morning. I want to teach from the subject, I want my house to stand. I want to teach from the subject, I want my house to stand. If you don't mind, just tell a neighbor the subject this morning. And if you mean it, let's give God a praise this morning. I want my house to stand. Come on, we can take our hand claps up a little higher. I want my house to stand. When it comes to the word house, it first of all represents a household or a home. The word house here represents first of all a household or home. It deals with a person's dwelling place or a place where a person remains or resides. A house can also be seen from a biblical standpoint as speaking to a family. A house can also represent a church or an auxiliary. And so notice this morning that Jesus himself, being truth, says in verse 25, if a house is divided, it can not stand. If a family is divided, that family cannot stand. If the church house is divided, the church house cannot stand. If your business is divided, it cannot stand. And you can say, well, Pastor, I have a wonderful vision for my business. Yeah, but if division gets in the business will not stand. And so we don't just need to speak this morning, but every one of us need for our actions to match our words. I said every one of us need our actions to match or line up with what I'm saying. And I remember back in the day when we was young, if somebody said something that their actions were not backing up or in line with, we would often tell folk or ask them, how did you fix your mouth to say that? I wonder, have you ever just had to call somebody to the carpet because you knew what they said sounded good, but you knew that their actions did not match the words. And so again, we would often call a person out just simply saying, how did you fix your mouth to say that? When you know that your actions say something different. And see, there's a whole lot of folk in the church that will utter something that's right, but when you examine their deeds or their actions, it's not lining up with what they're saying. Y'all gonna pray for me this morning? It's not lining up. And notice again that Jesus says, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Let me give you four definitions of to be divided. Y'all hang in here. Number one, it again is saying that house cannot stand because folk in the house are not on one accord. Or people in the church are not on what we like to call the same page. And one thing I learned pastoring over the years is that everybody may not be at the top of the page. But we all need to find ourselves on the same page. You may say, Pastor, I'm not as mature as you are. Yeah. Therefore, I don't expect you to be at the top of the page. But if you are a part of the house, come on, somebody, I expect you to do whatever it takes for you to get on the same page. I'm teaching good. Especially if you recognize that the page is God's page. You ought to be so determined that I'm going to find myself on the same page. And so often when we look in the church, even when we look in families, sadly, people are not on the same page. They're not on one accord. And so if a house is divided, a fall or ruin is going to take place. A fall is coming. We're not on the same page. Jesus says that a fall a ruin is going to take place. And see, listen again to the subject. I want my house to stand. I don't want to be a part of a house or a church that's in ruin because we won't get on God's page. Y'all didn't hear me. I said, I don't want to be a part of anything that is falling, caving in on itself, because the people in that place will not get on God's page. See, what you have to learn is that it ain't about what pastor wants. Pastor has an assignment to get us all on the same page. That page being God's page. I don't want my will to be done in the church. I want God's will to be done. Come on, somebody. I say, I don't want my will to be done, but I want his will to be done. And again, it's my job as a leader to get all of us on God's page so that a fall or ruin will not take place. And in some houses, ruin is taking place because the people in that house, in that dwelling place, are not on one accord. Can I break it down? They ain't thinking alike. They ain't talking alike, and they're not doing alike. Now, we don't have to think alike, talk alike, or do alike when it's something minor or small, something that makes no difference. But can I teach right? But when it comes to important things, there are some things that's too important for folk in the house to be thinking in different ways, to be talking in different ways, and to be doing in different ways. Can I preach it right? Or pulling against each other. Notice what Jesus says in Matthew 12, dealing with the same subject. Just flip back to Matthew 12. Notice what Jesus says in verse 25. Matthew 12 and 25. You have it? But Jesus knew their thoughts. He knew their what? He knew their thought. He knew the intent of their heart. He knew their mind or their mindset. But Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, every kingdom divided against itself, I want you to watch the word carefully, is brought to desolation. And every city or house divided against itself will not stand. Notice here Jesus adds that a house that is divided, notice the wording carefully, will be brought to desolation. And see, that's what some folk don't get, because they won't be on the same page, but because they can't physically see where a falling, a ruin, a desolation is setting in, there is no hurry to get on the same page. I'm talking to somebody this morning, because you're not seeing desolation. You think that the word is not right. You think you don't have to get your house in order, because when you look around, you don't see the house falling or caving in. But the word is right. Come on, I wish I had some amen. I said, but the word is right. And notice that Jesus himself said that a house divided will be brought into desolation, which means sooner or later is coming. Desolation is coming. I want to give you one meaning for desolation, which is to despoil. To despoil something. When something enters into desolation, it is being despoiled. Now, despoil means to remove or to lose valuable assets. Y'all better listen to me more. When a house is brought into desolation, that house is going to be despoiled, or it is going to begin to lose, or things that are valuable for that household, they're going to begin to lose it. Two things come to mind that we need in every house. Two valuable assets that every house, every church, every auxiliary needs. Number one is happiness. When Jesus talks about a house being brought into desolation or being despoiled, happiness is going to be removed from that house. I said happiness is going to be removed from that house. And you say, Pastor, what's the big deal? It's a very big deal, because happiness is a valuable asset that every family needs. Come on, somebody. I don't want to be showing up to a church and I'm not happy about being there. Ooh, I don't want to pull up at the breakfast table and eat with my family, but I'm not happy to be at this particular table. But see, where there is division, desolation is going to set in. And valuable assets are going to be removed from that house. It may not all be removed in one day, but sooner or later somebody's going to look around and realize that they're not happy anymore. Woo! And they're tired of begging people to do the right thing. Somebody ought to give me an amen. I said sooner or later somebody, I don't know who I'm preaching to, but sooner or later somebody is going to get tired of asking the same people to do the right thing. Finally, productivity is going to be lost. All of a sudden, the family is going to look around and notice that they're not accomplishing anything together. I don't want to be a part of a church where all of us are showing up, and as many of us as it is, yet we can't seem to get anything done. And how many know it's like that when people are constantly arguing, bickering, or being petty with one another? It don't matter what's in your household that could cause you to be productive. If you're fighting against each other, you're not going to accomplish what God desires for you to accomplish, because desolation is setting in. And see, somebody needs this word, because your actions need to line up when you say, I want my house to stand. Are y'all with me? When it comes to the word stand, I want us to first of all recognize that it means to be stable. When a house is standing, it says about that house, that family, that they are stable. The psalmist said in Psalm 127:1, except the Lord builds the house. Come on, Bible readers. They labor in vain who build it or establish it. See, to stand means, again, that a house or a family is going to be stable are well established. That house is going to be firmly fixed. And again, that's what I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of a church that is firmly fixed. Not a church that is up and down. Also, it has to do with to stand is to be kept intact. When we're able to stand, we are kept intact. Pastor, why is that important? Because of number 4. To stand means that we are prepared for battle. I said we're prepared for battle. Because anything that's standing, come on, Pastor, firmly, anything that is established by God, it will be attacked. Come on. If your family is standing because of what God is doing in that house is coming under attack. Oh, I didn't get that many amen. I said if your house has been established by God, he's put his blessings upon that house. He's put his presence upon that house. He's put his presence upon that church. He's causing them to be productive. Then you need to be prepared for battle. Are y'all with me? When a house is prepared for battle, this is important, that house is able to defend itself against attacks. It's sad when I look in the church at homes and families that should be accomplishing certain things by now. See, because God gonna anoint the eye of the shepherd. Come on, if the shepherd is on the wall and he's watching the way he needs to watch, then God is going to show the shepherd certain things. Come on, somebody, I said he's going to reveal certain things to the shepherd. And sometimes God will reveal to the shepherd that people are not accomplishing things because of division. And that house is not able to defend itself against attacks. Finally, to stand is to be productive, successful, or it represents a family who is thriving. And I don't know about you, I want my house to stand. I want the church where I belong to be a church that's thriving. Yes, I do. I don't want to go to a church where 1 or 2 families are being blessed. No, I want to go to a church that when I look throughout the church, there are numbers of families that are thriving. Watch this, that are doing better. Come on, somebody. Oh, you may not have everything you want, but is that house thriving? Is that house doing better? Because see, that's what we want. When I say I want my house to stand, I'm saying to you that I want to be able to do what God has ordained for me to do. Come on, let me break this down. And if he has ordained for me and you to do something, for us to accomplish something together, then I want me and you to be able to get done what God has set before us to do. Amen. How many are like the pastor? You ain't selfish. You want to see others blessed. Come on. How many about your hand? You want to see other folk blessed. Notice Proverbs 3. Notice Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Remember our subject, I want my house to stand. Notice Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Notice verse number 33. Y'all hang in here. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, and verse number 33. I'm finna bring in a word that is synonymous with division this morning. Listen to me. Especially when we know or have been taught about the importance of unity. When we have been taught the importance of brethren dwelling together in unity. But we refuse to eradicate division. I want to show you what's going on in that house or in that church.
Thank you for watching the Making People Productive broadcast with Pastor Leonard D. Cochran of A Place of Refuge, Noonan. To order your copy of today's message, please call the church office at 770-252-3855 and reference the message number listed below. We want to hear from you. If you have been helped, strengthened, or encouraged by the word, let us know. Also, don't forget to connect with us on all of our major social media platforms to receive exclusive information and updates with all things Refuge Noonan. A Place of Refuge Noonan is located in the city of Noonan, Georgia. If you would like to visit us, our worship times are every Sunday at 10:15 a.m. on location and live at 10:45 a.m. We also have service every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. via Facebook and YouTube Live.